Each finest home has a recipe for success, and in this case, it's the homeowner's travels mixed with the architect's vision and the interior designer's fearless navigation of geometrics and bright, bold colors.
In today's episode of Finest Homes, we're visiting a house that balances aesthetics with comfortable living. We speak to interior designer Charisse van Donde of Red Cherry Decor, who was asked to create an interior that would reflect its vibrant owner. We also sit down with interior designer Heather Boating to find out more about the technicalities of working with a geometric design scheme. But first, I meet up with the architect and project manager of today's feature home, Jose Nunes.
Jose, I'd love to start with how the home materialized. What was the client's brief?
One of the biggest briefs was trying to accommodate a lot of experiences that she's had during her travels to other countries and things like that. So she had a lot of memories and spaces that she experienced, and she wanted to bring it into her home. We basically took the stand, looked at the environment around it, and decided to design something that accommodates the living space within a circular or U-type fashion design. And then taking each room on its own merit, designing the spaces and making it face into a central courtyard, and also allowing that each space could open up and become one big entertainment area.
It sounds like livability was really important, but I want to start from the exterior. How would you define this architectural style?
I think the most accurate term would be modern or contemporary architecture. So we looked at linear elements of the house, concrete roofs, and we looked at the nice textures of plain plaster and bringing in smaller elements of timber and stone into the house.
So what would you say are the key architectural features?
Well, if you look at the house in itself, it would mainly be the keeping the linear element and at the same time bringing a lot of light into the house. So we looked at bringing in big windows and still keeping a nice horizontal look to the house, and then keeping big open spaces. But the biggest feature would be the big central courtyard as an element into the house.
And it seems like material plays a big role here. I mean, we see some stonework and metal. Talk to me about the combination of these materials.
Obviously, the stone would be a nice natural element to the building to make it, give it a bit more of a natural feel to it. And then we also decided to bring in a bit of an industrial feel to it. That would be the steel that we brought in, just exposing some elements of steel into the house.
Jose, I'd like to start with how the home materialized. So describe to me the client's brief.
Okay, so the client's brief was basically bringing in a lot of spaces that she has experienced in her travels. In the last couple of years, she's done a lot of traveling, and those elements of going to specific either boutique hotels or houses that she stayed at, she's experienced good elements from them, and she wanted to bring it into her home. Hence, we took that brief and we tried to accentuate certain spaces in the house that can accommodate that.
Can you talk us through some of the key architectural features that we see in the exterior of the home?
Obviously, we've taken on the concept to try and design something that's modern and contemporary. The most difficult thing about doing something in a house like that is to try and keep it as three-dimensional to the house as possible. Normally, contemporary is a very linear, flat sort of platform, and what we've done in this house is try to create spaces of three-dimensional, a lot of cantilevers in the roof, just to create a perspective of depth and three-dimensional, as I mentioned earlier.
As you enter the home, the striking foyer opens up to the generous living spaces that all enjoy a view onto the courtyard. It becomes evident that this is a house designed with flow and entertainment at heart.
Wow, Jose, from this side of the home, you really get to see the depth of it. Talk to us about the layout of the home.
Absolutely. So at the moment we're standing in the entertainment area, and that forms part of the one wing of the courtyard. And you can see it leads out to the main swimming pool area with the deck. And as we're standing here, we can look into the spaces of the home, which is the lounge. And that also opens up into this area. So at the same time, you can either open up everything to become one big living space, or you can close it up to make it a more intimate sort of space where you just have your entertaining of the guests in this space. And if you want your privacy at the same time in your home, you can have it.
I mean, there's such a distinct indoor-outdoor experience here. How did you ensure that the exterior translated well into the interior?
So we basically did that with walkways leading to the different areas of the home. So they're all interlinking with passages or the deck and steps going down to the courtyard area. And that links everything. And once it's opened up, it becomes one big space.
Does this pose any sort of challenges when you're putting it together?
The biggest challenge in this is when you got a property that's not specifically designed to a specific point, whether either being a view or something like that. So you've got to concentrate within a specific space and look at working within that environment. Hence the courtyard, and we surrounded the area with trees and making it nice comfort space.
And really amazing positioning. I mean, the sun streams in beautifully into the home.
Absolutely, 100% correct. What we've done is orientated it that we get that beautiful east and northern sun, and you can have a beautiful morning, a nice breakfast in the courtyard, and then when you come at the end of the day, whether you want to sit in the entertainment area, make yourself a nice pizza and just enjoy the beautiful sunset and the warmth of the sun coming onto the building.
What were some of your structural considerations? I mean, you're working with 2 levels and quite a few spaces, so what were some of the key considerations here?
So I think some of the key considerations would be at the same time when you're having your entertainment area, you still want to keep a bit of the privacy, that the people aren't going to be looking into certain areas of the house, being the bedrooms up at the top. So we made sure that we had enough elements screening off those spaces. But if you are in that environment upstairs, that you can stand in the balcony and have a look at the bottom area. As we're standing in the space here and you have a look at the environment where we've created the U shape of the house, and in a way to avoid having a very flat 2-dimensional look to the house, we've done different pockets where we've brought in facades coming forward and facades going back, and also a lot of elements of glass. This playing on the 3-dimensional views with your eye. So it's quite pleasant having a look at the whole house and all the different planes and textures coming through, and it actually pleases the eye when looking at it.
And it seems like your color selection also helps with the different depth that you feel.
Absolutely, 100% right. So we made sure that on the certain elements we went for a darker color, and on other elements making it a lighter color, and that giving you the perspective of a deeper sense to the building as you go through, and also keeping sort of to the natural tones that we try to do, and rather leaving the natural garden spaces to bring in the beautiful colors.
Stay with us, as after the break we speak to the designer who brought the interior of today's feature home to life. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we're visiting a house designed by Jose Nunes. It's a house that is built to elevate its owner's needs and that allows for seamless entertaining. The visionary who brought the interior to life is Cherise van Tonder of Red Cherry Decor.
So Cherise, what was your involvement in this project?
I did everything from beginning to end interiorly, the full turnkey solution, the tiles, the kitchen, the lights, the furniture, the sandware, the tile designs in the bathrooms, so everything.
Sure, that's quite a tall order. So did that come with the brief or not so much?
Yes, although the client was very relaxed, she had her specifications. She wanted it to be homely, not too staged, because she's got children and they're warm and very family-orientated people. So their interior needed to fit into their lifestyle as well. Yeah, so basically she just wanted color, a lot of colors, splashes. I've tried to use as much as I could. And she loves art. And also I needed to incorporate greenery. So that's why you will see under the staircase and throughout the house there's a lot of greenery used as well.
It's really impressive how you have made it look homely when the architectural brief was to have a hotel inspiration.
Yes.
So how did you ensure that you hit the balance?
Basically, the dining and the lounge, we took the whole traditional dining lounge out of this space to create that hotel lobby, but also I needed to create a bit of a division to not make it look too impersonal either. That's why there's two lounges, a bit of a formal by the fireplace and then the TV lounge, but still within one space.
Sure, and how's that feature wall upon entry? Beautiful.
Thank you. It's also actually my favorite part of the house. The client loves champagne, therefore I was inspired by the bubbles of the champagne, and it came out so beautifully, exactly what I envisioned.
And I love the layout of the home. I mean, it is quite open plan, but you've got distinct functional areas. Talk me through that.
So for the main lounge, we try to have a bit of a formal setting so that if they want to relax by the fireplace and also have the children watch TV, so it could basically go both ways. You can either have a formal or an informal lounge.
I really love the way you've incorporated a couch that really takes up the space, but quite diverse in the way it's been put together.
Yes, that was the whole idea behind it, not to have formal seating areas, large sofas that you can't move around. This furniture you can move around and you can adjust it. It can be ottomans. So basically part of the client's brief to just go back into comfortable living, and her children can do with it what they please. So
it looks like you had so much fun with your colors. You've really danced along the color palette. How did you ensure that it all worked together?
So because the client's brief was a lot of color, I obviously had to think about how I can still incorporate all of these colors that she loves into one area. And my inspiration actually came from ducks. It's really, at one stage I was into looking at ducks and I already got the colors from the ducks, so yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because I actually do recognize those colors that are inspired by nature. And what else brings in a natural feel is your integration of plants in the space. Talk to me about that.
So basically part of the brief as well, the client wanted greenery in the house, and it's also to soften these steel structures and just to incorporate also from a bit of outside, inside, that feeling, and the greenery just breaks it a bit.
Wow, this level of personalization must have come with quite a bit of customization.
Definitely. Most of the pieces in the house have been customized. Also just to add a bit of a personal touch, because the client is very unique, and I feel the interior is really speaking to her as well.
The orientation of the home really allows for a whole lot of natural light to come through, but I also noticed some clever installations of feature lights around the home.
Yes. So the lights in the lounge area, kitchen lounge area, is to pick up on the tile design that I did, the geometrics for it to follow through on that. And then also the kitchen lights, also the geometrics in that with the circles to also break the harsh lines.
If we move on to the kitchen, it seems like all the elements, including the cabinetry, are very well integrated into the space.
The client wanted to avoid a white kitchen by all means, because it's very sterile, and she wanted a warm feeling, especially within the living space. So we worked with stone and wood, and also to bring in the natural elements that she longed for.
Yeah, and it seems like you've used quite a muted palette.
Yes, yes. Also, because of all the color in the lounge, We had to restrict it a bit there. Yeah.
So it sounds like where you have geometrics, in order to replace it, you just use neutral palettes instead.
Yes. So it's not too much.
Well, you can tell that this is really the heart of the home, but I don't see a dining table here.
Yes, so we've got a very informal dining in the kitchen, where the family prefers to have their breakfast and their dinners, also because it's warm and cozy and within the area. But then we also have a formal dining area, which is part of the entertainment area, where the bar and the outside living is incorporated. The dining and the coffee table in the living space, I made them the same to marry the two rooms together as well. The dining chairs are comfy. The client also wanted that. She wanted to sit back and relax when she's got her guests over. Nothing uptight or formal. Although the black does seem formal, it's just a common thread that runs throughout the house.
Speaking of common thread, we've got a distinct style downstairs. Does this translate into the upstairs area where the bedrooms are?
In terms of the boutique look, definitely. The master bedroom does feel like you're walking into your hotel bedroom. The bathroom is also very similar to the kitchen. The counter, the black and white, it's definitely the hotel vibe, I would say.
And I see the geometric influence also continues as well.
Yes, it does, definitely.
After the break, we take a closer look at geometrics and how this element fits into a design scheme. In today's episode of Finest Homes, we're visiting a house designed by Jose Nunes and coloured in by interior designer Cherise van Donder of Red Cherry Decor. It's a house that enjoys colourful spaces and strong geometric lines throughout. So to find out more about geometrics within a design scheme, I visit interior designer Heather Boating.
Heather, today we're talking geometrics, so how would you describe this design style?
For me, geometrics are all about taking it to its simplest form, and we're really concentrating on shapes at the end of the day. So we can incorporate that with some beautiful shapes in fabric, wallpapers for instance, or furniture pieces, or we can keep things very simple and very clean and introduce lines, geometric shapes in the foundations and the building of your interiors.
I mean, simple but incredibly impactful. So how do we manage to balance sort of these bright, bold colours and make it all work?
So for me, I feel that this could go two ways. We could have such fun going for almost that inspirational Memphis style interior, where we're going to be using those bold blues, bold reds and bold yellow colours. Or, like I mentioned earlier, we could simplify it and keep it very monochromatic and concentrate on those really substantial black lines, white walls, and then taking inspiration from the building and the architecture.
Well, I love what you've put together here for us. Can you talk us through the stunning mood board? I see colour everywhere. Talk us through this.
So today I try to give a little bit of a balance depending on where your style would go to. So we certainly have the pops of colour that we could bring in with your carpentry. We could have fun in creating shapes with your tiles in your bathrooms or kitchens. And then again, we could have furniture that really speak in terms of either the shape or bringing in that pop of colour.
So how would you introduce this style from the ground up?
For me, I think it would be key to keep your elements simple in terms of those ticket items. So from the flooring, we could be as simple as creating a herringbone pattern, for instance, on your floors, but then I would keep your walls quite clean and allow for then the furniture to then pop off of that with either colour or the shape that you've selected.
It can look quite eclectic and fun, so how do you ensure that you don't go too wild and, go a bit overboard?
I would certainly choose which direction that you would want to go to. I think it would be important to either go the simpler route and concentrate on those really graphic elements and lines, or you could go for very neutral base and then really create those pops of color and be bold and have fun with those, but really just simplify that application.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, it can tend to be quite loud. So would you say you're limited to a specific room size or the type of room that you'd want to play with this design scheme?
I don't feel that this limits yourself in terms of a room size, but where I do feel that you need to be is very complementary in your colors. So we're going to be choosing complementary colors. We aren't going to be going too crazy in terms of a wallpaper and a patterned fabric. We're going to be choosing a ticket item or concentrating on a feature, for instance.
So maybe perhaps a neutral color in the bedroom to achieve that calm effect, and maybe go a little bit brighter in the entertainment spaces, for example.
Certainly, and I think have fun with those different elements and textures. We can create pattern on the floors, we can create pattern with your tiles as splashbacks or in the bathroom. So there are various ways of achieving that geometric look without it having to just be color everywhere.
And even in your accessories, I mean, I love this totem to my left. Talk us through that.
So I think this is again just those fun elements that we can introduce to a space. So really appealing to people with a more simplified interior. We could bring in that geometric shape with accessories and vases, so you don't need to have a color explosion.
This seems like a design scheme where the wallpaper could really make or break the whole look. So talk to us about how you introduce wallpaper into this design scheme.
So wallpaper for me is really coming sort of leaps and bounds, and I think perfect application to create that fun, that boldness that you really want to translate into your interiors. There are a plethora of shapes and designs, and we can go through them, but the perfect application would to be making a statement wall. Again, we're not dictated by space or having to just stick to one wall per se. We could have fun with wrapping an entire guest loo, for instance, or we could have a feature wall in a lounge or the back of your headboard wall in a bedroom. So really beautiful designs that can translate that boldness and the effect that you're trying to create with a geometric style.
That's all for this week.